So we've got an infrared sensor here shooting at a beam that's not visible to the normal human eye, but a camera you can see it, which is pretty cool. And we're going to make the rover go forward, and when the beam is broken, it stops. Let's have a go. Put your hand over it, and there you go, it stops. So it's vertical now just for ease of setup, but of course you'd stick that out on one of the perimeter edges so it would detect a wall or an object and that kind of stuff. Stop the motor, or maybe stop and do something else. Stop and attack, who knows. Okay.
We'll start off with this code we had from before, which is just to move a rover forward, left, right, reverse, and to quit out. The general gist is, look, the two GPIO switches go on, they stay on for 1 second, and then they go off. Same kind of thing, except with different switches to steer it around. Now, we're going to add in a sensor. So when we're setting up our GPIO outs, we now need a GPIO in. So what I'm going to type here is GPIO setup on number 25. I've put in a input there. So here what we want to do instead now, we want to change this sleep to something that checks the sensor as it's moving. We don't want it to kind of check a sensor and then move. We want it to be constantly checking the sensor as it is going. So because I don't want to keep writing GPIO 25, I'm just going to call this sensor. Make a new variable. This could be pizza, it could be anything, which is GPIO dot input 25. And what this does, it basically reads from the sensor. Okay, and it assigns whatever this value is to now the new variable sensor. Right, let's what am I going to do with it? Well, I'm going to say if what I get on the sensor is equal to 1, I know from doing this before that 1 means it can't actually see anything. It sees no one. Go to print, can't see none. And then to allow it to move, don't forget I've already turned on the motors. So the motors are still going while this is going on. So all I have to do is put a delay, you know. If I put a sleep here, even just for a fraction of a second, it means that it's still going. So I leave it go. The rover will move forward. Otherwise, all this would happen in an instant. Okay. Now, what happens if it does see something? If sensor is equal to 0, which means it can see something, I better stop it. Then I gotta kill the motors. Straight away, I gotta kill these motors. Actually, I have the motor kill code down here. Okay, kill those GPIOs. So let's just think about what it's gonna do. It's gonna make their motors turn on. Instantly, it's gonna read the sensor. If the sensor reads something, the motors turn back off again. So as this is, the motors will turn on, it'll read the sensor, it'll edge forward a tiny bit like that, and then if it, if it sees something, it'll stop. The thing is, it actually won't like stop if it sees something. It only won't go to begin with if it sees something. See, I've got a problem there. So if I set this to like 10 seconds, what's going to happen to my rover is it'll turn the motor on. If it can't see anything, it's going to kamikaze forward for 10 seconds, regardless of what it sees. It doesn't like, it's already made its decision. So that's a problem. If I put it to something like 0.1, as I said, this will be brilliant. It probably won't crash into anything, but it's not going to go very far. I guess what I want to do is inch it forward and just check the sensor again. Inch it forward, check the sensor again. So I could do this, and I could just do that again and again. Oh god, this is horrendous. I'm not going to do that. That's awful. Okay, there must be a way of doing this a few times. So what if I want to like repeat this code again and again and again. So to repeat it 5 times, I'm just going to use a little counter, a while loop. So let's repeat it 5 times. So you just go I equals 0. And it could be anything equals 0. Actually, let's make it even easier to understand. Say like a counter is 0. Okay? I is shorter, but the problem with writing these things is you spell them wrong. That's why coders use things like I. I'm going to go counter though. I start my clock at 0. Now, while, remember this from while true? Well, I'm going to do something similar, but it's actually going to be while the counter is under 5 counts, while it's less than 5, we're going to do some stuff. Do all of this basically. Okay? You're just keep doing this while it's less than 5. The counter's never going to, it's just going to stay at 0. I mean, I didn't tell it to add 1 to the clock when it gets to the bottom of this, so I better do that. I better say, you know, go up the next notch on the counter. So I'm going to go counter is equal to the previous version of counter plus 1. Add 1 to it. So if the counter was 1, the new counter is going to be 1 plus 1, 2. If the counter was 3, the new counter was going to be 3 plus 1, 4. It's just counting. And finally, you know, when it does actually get to bigger than 5, I want it to break out of this. So why don't I just go elif counter is 5 when it gets to 5. Let's just break out of the loop then. Cool. So it'll end this. Okay, now that's it. So what's going to happen now? My motors will turn on. It'll start a count. It'll read the sensor 5 times, each time edging the rover forward a tiny bit, then reading again, checking, reading again, checking, reading again, and that's going to be way better. Okay, so that's for forward. So I just have to put that in for this sleep. Oh my god, this is going to be disgustingly long. Copy pasting. Okay, this is ridiculous. I'm going to use functions. If I'm repeating it again and again like that, I just might as well make it a function, a shortcut, a snippet of code that I can just call again and again without having to write the whole thing out or copy paste it a billion times. So it's not that bad to use a function. All you do is I just copy all of this stuff. So I'll cut it out of there. And I'm going to go to the very start of my program and define a function. I'm going to say this is this new function call. Let's call it sensor check. Okay, and every time you do a function, you need one of those. Okay, and then I just copy. Well, I just paste in the bit I cut out. So there is the function. So what's it going to do? It's going to start a counter while it's less than 5, read the sensor, edge it forward, do it 5 times, and that's my sensor check. Okay. So now look how pretty this is going to look. Sensor check. That's simple. Look, I didn't have to paste it all in, and look how nice this is going to be. Sleep. Get rid of that. Sensor check. Sleep, get rid of that, sensor check. So now I've avoided making this really nice readable program completely disgusting. And there it is. So I'm just going to read through this again, just make sure it's all, you can see I'm missing colon there. Every if and elif has a colon at the end of it. Oops, I'm trying to make the smiley faces. That should be over here. Let's try that again. I'll have to give it out about now. Oh yeah. I type W. You can't see anything. I put my hand over the sensor and it should rush to stop the, there you go. And it stopped. So that's everything. I did change these values here just so they were visible in the video, but you can change this back to the originals or play around and get them to work for yourself.